Hello, everyone. I am your host, Sheekha, and you are listening to the Itch and Scratch Show. Okay, I am very excited to tell you a little bit about our guest today. He is into art. He loves any form of art, be it visual, auditory, or performance. He has been a musician since he can remember. Mediums, the genres, and everything that has changed over all these years has changed him. His love language is automobiles, and second language is sarcasm. He is funny, he is smart, he is also a QA manager, and is a kick-ass musician. Introducing to you Vivek N. Also goes by his brand 23 Odd Cats. His life is his family and friends, and including the four-legged ones. Vivek has learned to embrace the duality of his life, and it has only made him happier. I met Apurva, his wife, and Vivek, I think, in 2016 or 2017. And I was very inspired and happy after meeting both Apurva and Vivek. And when I got to know about Vivek and his gigs, and how he was performing at these shows, that's when I knew that I had to invite Vivek on our podcast. It is really inspiring to see how far Vivek has come and how well he balances being a husband, a cat dad, and a musician. Also an IT professional. So let's dive in and see what Vivek has to tell. Hello everyone, welcome to the Itch and Scratch Show. I am your host Sheekha, and today we have a very special guest with us, Vivek, also known as 23 Odd Cats. Welcome, Vivek.
Hey, thank you for having me over. I think this is my second appearance. Yeah.
Nice. To those who do not know, Vivek is a standard issue software engineer by day and a musician by night. He is the QA manager for a company called Live 360. And he's a kick-ass artist and a musician. Vivek, today we want to ask you everything about your journey, how you came to the States, and then what made you pursue being a musician and creating music and everything. Also, most importantly, how do you balance your passion, your dream of becoming a musician, but also your 9-to-5 job?
Yeah, excited to dive into all those things with you.
Sweet. All right, let's get started. So my first question to you is going to be, what is your story? Why music? And how did you end up becoming a musician?
Yeah, I think I've always been into music. My family's had me exposed to. My mom was a musician. My dad's a music enthusiast too. At a young age, I definitely got into it. Either we'd be singing, or I eventually picked up playing the piano, and then worked my way to some more instruments when we started jamming as friends. We're in college, and we had a little rock band moment there. And then eventually I moved to the US for my master's. And then, for the first few years, it was still pretty easy for us for me to kind of find other musicians and kind of jam with them and have fun. But eventually, once I started working, that's when I realized it's so impossible to align your schedule with 4 grown adults with so many more responsibilities and things. So the band dream kind of started taking the backseat, and then one thing led to another. I started getting into electronic music, and then I remember I was working on my old MacBook, and it had GarageBand, which is one of the most simple, fun, basic production thing. And I just started tinkering with it, and then I just kind of started diving deeper into it. And then I think it was actually at a music festival called Still Dream in 2015 or something, where hey, you know what, I really want to do this. It was a beautiful moment, and I think that was kind of the fuel for me to start working on electronic music. And then eventually, after figuring out what type of sounds I want to do and things like that, I finally landed on my present brand, 23 Odd Cats. But that's kind of the gist of it.
Cool. That is so interesting. So you've always been passionate about music since you were a child because your parents were already heavy music enthusiasts. Nice.
Yeah, that helped. that helped definitely. And then, growing up, like for most of us, music and listening to stuff on TV and Channel V and, those things was always released for all of us. So, yeah, that helped.
Nice. Okay, so you grew up in India and then you moved to the US for your master's degree.
Yes.
Every parent's dream back then, at least when we were growing up, was to become either an engineer or a doctor. Like their children, right? So how was your family, how did they react? What was their reaction when you told them, you already became an engineer, but when you told them that you wanted to pursue this, how did they react?
So, to be honest, like for the first time, like say even back in India when like we were working as bands and stuff, there was some pushback. Like they never saw it as a career, to be honest. They would try to like meet me halfway, saying, get settled into a job, get your stuff together, and then you can invest more time into your passion. And I was like, I mean, maybe that kind of does make sense. So I wouldn't say they dissuaded me to make a career out of it, but at the same point, they did knock some sort of sense into me. And then after moving here, same thing, I got into a software job. It's a very well-paying job. And then you like it or not, for an artist to kind of replace that level of income is not so easy unless you really blow up. Which usually takes a lot of time. But yeah, so I figured I'm going to continue doing this because I love it, maybe not for the income. And I kept doing it. And then eventually my family, I don't think even now they understand the music I make, but they do take the time to listen to it. And now my dad's like a lot more involved. I see him commenting on my Facebook posts and liking my posts and everything. And same from my in-laws, of course. Maybe my sister-in-laws kind of understand it and they see the drive behind it. But yeah, there was pushback, but then I think eventually they did come around because I think they understood that I was not trying to replace my career, but at least they saw the passion and got more supportive over time.
That's so important, right? Just meeting your middle way and then trying to knock some sense into your head that yes, earning money is also important, but also following your passions.
Yeah.
But you actually brought up a very good point when you said being an artist does not pay really well unless you blow up, right? Unless you become really famous and all that. So that brings me to my next question. If someone were to come to you for advice, what would you tell them? Just based off of the amount that you get paid for being a musician in the States.
Yeah. It will be a struggle, honestly, just kind of trying to make money full time as a musician. But if you have the time and the resources and the, drive to do it, there is so many ways to monetize your music now. I've seen a lot of musicians who've been going that route and they've been actually making some decent money out of it by going viral on TikTok, or like John Summit recently. I think that's a great example of him blowing up. So, and then even in the local music scene, I do see musicians who do that. And if you have the time, you can sell beats and create sample packs and sell them. And there's a lot of ways to monetize music if you have the time and drive to do it. So it's not impossible, but I encourage people to not quit their 9 to 5 up until a point where they're certain there's enough cash flow to sustain them. But if someone's really driven and they have the resources and everything to do it, I think it is doable. But yeah.
Nice. So again, I think you're that is some really solid advice. Don't quit your 9 to 5. But let's say, times have changed. And for us as millennials, 9 to 5 was really important. But for Gen Z, they think in a completely different way, and their approach to certain things, especially when it comes to career, is different. I think when we were growing up, becoming a YouTuber was not an option at all.
I would have given it a try. I wouldn't have let my foot down without trying it out. If 15 years ago we were where we are right now, I would 100% give it a try and then be like, okay, I tried, it didn't work out, so let me find a proper job that'll pay my bills and then I'll continue hustling.
Nice. Okay. So with that, how many years did it actually take you to be where you are today?
So I started making electronic music in late 2014, early 2015. So it's been 9 years since I've been doing this. I don't do this full time, but also there are times where I was probably still dedicating like 20 hours a week to this. The amount of time you invest is kind of what determines the payout too. But I feel I've been doing 23 Odd Cats specifically where I took a year break in like 2018 when I moved to New York. I completely stepped back from music. I didn't do gigs or this kind of like was settling into the New York life. And then I wanted to kind of find my sound properly and rebrand myself and kind of start from scratch. So for this project, with the knowledge I possibly gained for the previous 4 years, right? So it's been 5 years since I've been making music as 23 Odd Cats. So, and then obviously for most musicians, at least beginning artists, like 2020, 2021 was a complete blowout.
Right.
But there are musicians who really grew over like playing streaming shows and like streaming festivals and things too. So I would say like it took me like 4 years to kind of get to where I am. It's still a long way to go though.
Cool. Nice. Okay, so how do you balance your 9 to 5 job in IT and then your passion of being a musician and also performing at different festivals?
Yeah, I think fortunately, for the most part, being transparent about my expectation of work-life balance when I was, say, even joining companies really helped me even be able to maintain that balance. So I'm grateful all my employers were okay with this. And to me, it was always about, okay, if I want to take time to go perform and I have to go play like a midweek show,
Right.
it was always important that I got all my stuff in order before I take the next morning or like half of the next morning off or something. So just a little bit of, legwork before doing things was helpful. But then the main balancing part, to be honest, when I was really getting into learning electronic music, it was like, in like after technology terms, I would say when you like up a new IDE or like you're working on new programming language, right? And then you're just in that phase where you're like absorbing knowledge and like really trying out new things. So during that phase, that was when I was definitely putting 20 hours of work, I'd say. Most of the times I'd start my day job at like Ganesh, right? So that would give me some time to even the traffic died out and things. So I didn't have to like up super early back in the day. So I'd just stay up at night, 3-4 hours every night. It's weird at that point, like this was my only other thing I was doing, just going to work, coming back and kind of sitting and working on music. And then eventually I realized even that wasn't really healthy. And, after getting married and kind of us developing like our new routines and schedules in life, I figured out for me that getting music hours during early morning has been really helpful. So my wife wakes up at like 4:30 or 5 a.m. to do yoga. And then I usually am up with her, and then I have an hour and a half now to just kind of sit and work on music, and I find that's the best time for me to sit and make music too. And then again, I'm in Eastern time, and then I work for a company that's in Pacific time, so I don't start until almost 11, some 10:30, 11 during the day. So I have time to like really get so much stuff done, and just kind of like then get through my day. So just finding that balance with your biological clock was the big thing, and just kind of being prepared to like understanding like what are the things you'd have to miss or what are the things you'd have to make time for, and what are the things that are okay to make time for.
Cool. Nice. So communicate with your employers and then find a routine and then stick to it. Nice. Cool. That is so cool. Okay. So now I know how creative you have to be when it comes to making music and especially performing at various places. What inspires you and what motivates you to just keep on creating different music?
Yeah. So I think it's like that very typical feedback loop, right? You go to concerts or you hop on SoundCloud or Spotify, and then you find new artists. You experience new music, especially when you go out to gigs and you see other musicians. I think that gives me a lot of inspiration. Some of the other things I do find inspiration in is going out in the nature. I think that always helps me getting to a certain state of mind where I can start formulating music. So that's been helpful. And then there are honestly days where I have to just kind of really sit down and put myself to it and kind of just be like, right, you gotta do this. It's like preparing for your MSET exam or something, right?
Right.
So sometimes I just kind of make myself go through a routine like that, and then just to kind of get the creative juices flowing, I'll be like, okay, how about I use only sounds from a certain sample pack, or I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna make a song without a certain type of instrument, maybe a hi-hat or like a snare drum or something. So just kind of challenging myself sometimes helps me stay motivated too. Sometimes putting myself in a box helps me, kind of like forcing myself to be creative. But listening to new music, I think being out there, connecting with new musicians and just kind of thriving off of that.
Nice. That is interesting. Very nice. Okay, so my last question to you is going to be, you've performed at so many places. What has been your favorite performance so far, and where was it?
There's a few, honestly. I think right now, personally, my last favorite performance, I would say, was for some sentimental reasons. This show I played in January with my friend who passed away. He goes by Adios.
So sorry.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful show. We had the best times. It was amazing. We both absolutely killed it. I got to hang out with him, and we had such a fun time before the show and after the show. Yeah, I think that is probably going to always be a special show for me. But the most fun I've had, I honestly try to have like a lot of fun, irrespective of where I'm playing.
Right.
I try to cater for the time I'm playing, but my last set obviously at this Big Dub Music Festival was crazy. I think it was so much fun. And then there was this one set I played in 2019. It was my first set as 23 Art Cats at this festival called Emissions. It happens like up in Northern California in this beautiful location where there's a river and a forest. And I was playing at that little beach stage by the river at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. I think. And it's just, that's a special set forever. So I think these are probably the ones I could say are my favorites.
So cool. That was so much fun, Vivek. And I keep seeing the pictures, and I think my most favorite part of seeing all your posts is how Apurva motivates you and how she's always there pushing you, and it's so obvious that she loves what you do.
Yeah, it may sound typical or cheesy or like practice, but like I don't think I would have been able to do this without her. Like, not just me, but even like my friends and my other peers. You see people kind of fade away after they get married sometimes. Or they take a break from the scene. I think even I thought, hey, I love her enough to do that if that's what it takes. But she was like, I got this. I'm a freaking manage you, actually. Yeah, she's the best. And without her support and like motivation, like I 100% wouldn't have been able to do this. And I do keep joking that she's my Rick Rubin. If you're familiar with who Rick Rubin is, he's like the producer who worked with like very big artists and like Nirvana and like Foo Fighters and like now like Tomar and everything. So he doesn't like really make music, and like if you watch his interviews, he even says that like I don't know much about music, but I know when something's good. Right, so she's like that for me. I'll be working on things up until one point. I won't lay things out, and then I'll be like, hey, if you want to come check this, and then she'll come stand back there by the door, and she'll be like, all right, and like she'll like listen to it, and she'll be like, okay, and she'll be like just change that a little bit. She won't know what she's talking about, but she'll be pretty specific, and somehow I do understand too, and then I'll be like, okay, I make changes, and then her approval is usually the biggest one for me. I think she doesn't be kind about it. If she doesn't like something, she'll be like, shit, please don't release this.
And that's so important, right? You need to have that someone in your life who's going to tell you, okay, yes, you're awesome, you're great to everybody in the world, but this is shit, and that you have to change this or do it in a different way. That's
right? Biggest supporter and biggest critique. I think it's a win-win for me.
Nice. That is so
Yeah.
cool. I love you both, and I love how you guys support each other. And to people who do not know, I visited Vivek and Apurva back, I think, in 2016 or 17. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But the energy that you both have is crazy because I have not met any couple who's as cool as you guys after an arranged marriage. And
I know,
to
right?
yeah, and to see how you both have grown individually but also as a couple, I think is commendable. And yeah, like you mentioned, so many people just take a back step because they get married or have children. And that's what I think is so inspiring about you is that you just continue making music and performing, and I
Yeah.
see all your posts, and so it's really amazing. Congratulations again,
Thank you
Vivek.
so much. Yeah. I think it's great to have a supporting partner. I'm lucky, and doing this is definitely not easy. It has its ups and downs, but yeah,
Correct.
having someone who understands and is there for you is helpful.
Nice. Okay, so any last words or thoughts for our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I'd say you know do your thing. If you have the drive, if you want to do something, go for it. Don't give up without trying, right? You may fail, but if you're really driven, keep trying till you succeed, and don't let failure kind of dissuade you from following your passion. It's really important to um, at least for me to have something, that creative outlet. And if you're that type of person or not, just still find it and hold on to it if you can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vivek. It was a pleasure having you as a guest on our show. And I hope to see more of your music. And I'm going to share other links for the Instagram profile, your merch, and also SoundCloud.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for having me again. It was so nice chatting with you. And again, thank you for supporting me and thinking about me.
Of
It's
course.
been a pleasure, like knowing you over all these years, and even seeing you grow and your brand kind of develop, and you finding your voice and really pursuing it too. So keep killing it, and looking forward for like more shows and more books.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I think I'm gonna cry now. Thank you so
Of
much.
course, of course.
Thank you everyone for tuning into the Itch and Scratch show. I cannot believe that we're coming up to the 10th episode and we are 10 episodes down. I cannot believe we've come this far. I just wanted to take a minute to let you guys know that I've started sharing my experiences, my journeys, my stories, and everything else. It's going to be different from the podcast that we have, and I hope you guys are gonna have fun. And I hope you've learned something from this episode, and tune in for more because we have some amazing guests scheduled for some more episodes on the show. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time, stay raw, stay you, and take care. This is your host, Sheekha Singh, signing off. Bye bye.